Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanis. In the last episode, we took care of our ragdoll zombie. Fantastic! We shoot him, he falls down. It looks really good. In this episode, guys, I'd like to take a look at we're going to go back to some special effects here. We're going to take a look at creating a electrical puddle. And this is just an example. I'm not going to do too many examples of environmental effects like this. I'm going to leave that up for you guys to do. We already took a look at fire. We're going to take a look at electricity now. And really and truly, these are just samples. You can come up with your own ideas and use the techniques that I'm showing in these episodes to really create your own standout special effects, standout environmental effects. Alright guys, let's get started. Okay guys, so as I mentioned, we're going to be building an environmental effect today, an electrical environmental effect. And I picked electrical randomly. I just wanted to show you guys how to do one more kind of environmental effect. That's all I really wanted to do. It's pretty straightforward. If you've done one of these, and you've probably done, we've already done fire, and we're not going to be any more complicated than fire. To be honest, no more complicated than fire. So we're really just going to take a look at building the effect itself. Now, what I want to make sure, I'm not going to go through, I'm calling this thing an electrical puddle, and I didn't build a puddle model. I didn't build something that made it look like it should be electrified, like there's no toaster going from the wall into the puddle or anything like that. I just built the actual effect. If you guys are building a full-fledged game, I really recommend that you go through, if this is something you're going to want other people to play, then you go through and you add the appropriate things to give your players a warning that something is wrong with this, other than just simply the graphic itself. People are going to look at the game and say, well, why the hell is there electricity here? It doesn't make sense. That's part of level design, guys, and we don't really discuss level design in these episodes. I'm leaving that up to you. If someone's interested in that, then let me know, and maybe we can take a look at it in the future. But for now, we're not really doing that. We're just going through and building the assets that you need to make yourself a game. I'm leaving level design completely up to you, but make sure you're giving your players an idea of what they're seeing and why they're seeing it. Okay, so to start off with, let's go through and build ourselves a couple of materials here. We're going to go through and say create, and we're going to say create a material, boom. Let's name it electricity. Electricity. All right, and it's not going to be your standard shader. We're going to go through and we're going to use a particle system, and we are going to use we're going to use particle, and we're going to use the alpha blended. All right, instead of the normal one. And basically, I've already gone through and downloaded a couple of textures that I found. You can either make your own, make them through Photoshop or whatever, or download them. It's up to you. I'm not doing anything in this game other than showing you guys stuff. But if you are going to be selling your game, make sure you guys are using legal assets, okay? Make sure you're using legal assets or paying the licenses you need to pay for. Anyway, for now, I'm going to find electricity. Here it is. All right, that's my electricity. And if I take a look, yep, that's how I want it to look, and that's great. And now there's two things that I'm going to have within this electrical puddle. I was going to have kind of something on the floor where if you walk in it, you take damage, and I was going to have some arcing as well, just to show a more environmental effect and kind of show, make it even more evident that there's danger in this area. So I'm going to create another material right now. Might as well just make them both. Another material. Once again, this is going to be a particle system. This time it's just going to be an additive. We'll just use the additive for this one here. Once again, I have another texture that I've downloaded called arcing. And so we're gonna have a I didn't rename it though. We're gonna have ourselves a puddle. Let's call it electrical arcing. All right. We're going to have ourselves a puddle that has this, or, a spot that has this low-level electricity on it, and we're going to have these larger tendrils kind of shooting up in the air, just to give you a more visual cue that, something is different here, something is dangerous. So electrical arcing will be those tendrils, and the electricity itself is going to be the stuff that we see on the ground. Okay? So to start off with, fairly straightforward, guys. Not a whole lot here. What we're going to do is we're going to say game object. We're going to create a brand new game object. Let's create a particle system, because that's ultimately what we're going to need. We're going to leave it rotated the way it is. I'm going to set it to 0. I'm just going to set it to 0 here so that we're directly underneath the player right now and we're building where we want to build. First thing we're going to do, open up our particle system, and we are going to change this to our brand new renderer, to our brand new sprite sheet, which was called electricity. electricity. All right, there we go. So that's not working exactly the way we wanted. Obviously, that's better. It's no longer the default particles, but it's not what we want. Let's pause this for a second so we can see it. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I can see. There are 9 different electrical sparky things there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 9 that I can see. We want to turn on our sprite sheet, our texture sheet animation. And because it's 1 across and 9 down, we want it to be 1 by 9. All right, and that's going to give us, if we hit play right now, let's just simulate this again. Instead of just being those things flying up in the air, we're going to see our electrical arcing change around. All right, so far so good. What we don't want this thing to be flying up in the air, and we don't want it to be going so fast. So we're going to go through now and change some of the default particle system here. We've got ourselves a duration of 5. That's fine. Looping is fine. That's what we want. We don't want any start delay. Great. Our lifetime is relatively long. We don't want it to be long like that. And there we go. Now we can actually see the animation occurring from the actual texture sheet, and that's great. We obviously don't want any start speed. We want it to be 0. We don't want it to be moving. We want it on the floor. That looks good. That looks pretty darn good right there. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Let's change it so that the start lifetime, let's give it a constant between 2 values. Let's make it between 0.5. So some of them are shorter lived, and 1. And that's fine. Start speed we're going to leave like that. You can go through and change your start size and everything else if you want to. Let's do it constant between 2. Let's make it between 1 and let's say 2. Maybe make a couple of them a little bigger. It's up to you guys. Make sure you like it the way it looks. That's a little bit too big for me. 1.5. That's a little better. All right, so that looks okay to me. I don't like the area of effect. All right, we're probably still using our cone because that is our default shape, and we are. I'm going to set it up instead so we're using a box. And with this object rotated -90, we're going to be affecting, for the box, we're going to be affecting the Z value. So no, I'm lying, not the Z value, the Y value. Make it a little wider so we've got a little bigger area. And let's affect the X value so we've got a little larger area. So once you make this thing bigger, and that's a little too tall for me, I'm going to shrink it down in the Z. All right, once you've got yourself an area that you like, that shows a much larger electrical area there, and I've got it just off the ground, or just maybe even just through the ground a little tiny bit. All right, that's kind of what you want it to do. I want the arcing to kind of appear every once in a while, up and down, up and down. That's what I was looking for out of this anyway. All right, so that doesn't look so bad to me. Obviously, you'd want to build a puddle, like I said, or you want to build a toaster or something that's going to go in there to make a reason why this thing has been electrified. There's a couple of things that we need. I don't think we have to change anything else, to be honest. You can go through and make this thing look the way you'd like it to look. All the electricals going in the same direction, so we could have a kind of a random start rotation. Let's see how we do. If we have a random start rotation between 2 constants, let's say between 0 and 90. No, I don't like it. I liked it as it was, just 0. So just go back to a constant, which was just 0. You can go through and probably rotate these in a specific direction if you want to. Go through it and look at your I don't even know if it'll change anything. I haven't really checked all this stuff. Let's see what happens when we say rotation over lifetime. What if we add some? All right, not what I like. Not what I like. You guys go through and make it look the way you like it. All right, that's the whole point of these things, to make it look the way you like it. Now we're going to need a few other things. We want to affect the character when they walk inside, and we want some kind of diegetic sound as well. We don't want to just be silent. All right, so let's add those things. Adding sound, really easy. All we're going to do, let's close off our particle system because we don't need to see it now. I'm going to leave it like that. That's fine for me. I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add an audio source, and I'm going to add an audio source, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to change a couple of things. First of all, I've got a clip. I've got an audio clip that I think was called electricity. Great. We've got an electrical audio clip. We are going to set this thing up so that it plays on the wake, great, and it loops. That's what we want, because this might be there for a long time. We are going to move this thing across, so we've got ourselves a 3D sound, and that puts it in the 3D, meaning that as you walk away from the sound source, the sound should get quieter, and as you come closer to it, it gets louder. We're going to change the max distance for my game to 20. And that probably should work out fine, I would think. And so other than that, so we've got ourselves the diegetic sound. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have this thing affect the character so that it harms the character in some way. I think this is probably too loud. Let's check it out first. If it's too loud, I'll always turn this down. I can always turn it down to like half or something like that. Anyway, we're going to want to have this affect the character in some way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shrink this up for now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add component, and we've already got an existing script. The reason why I made the things the way I did is so that we could easily plug and play and create new environmental obstacles or new enemies very, very quickly. So let's go in and take a look at our scripts. Our scripts that we are going to require in order to affect our player is the enemy damage script. If you really wanted to, you could go in and write another script that had it affect the enemies as well. So maybe you'd set up a trap, have the zombies walk into the electricity. It's up to you guys. You should be able to do that now just by manipulating the enemy damage script. All right. So with that in place, what I want to do is I want to have a fair amount of damage. Let's say 1, and I want to have it damage rate very high. So let's say every 1/10 of a second that the character's within the electrical area. That they take damage, all right? And lastly, the pushback force, I'm not going to have the character shot out. If the character steps in the electricity, they're going to start taking electrical damage immediately, okay? Now, the last thing we need to go along with our enemy damage script is, of course, our add component. We need our physics, and we need our, let's put in a box collider for this one, and it's going to be a trigger. So if the character walks in here, they're going to trigger this, and they're going to start taking damage immediately from the enemy damage script. And this looks like too big. It's a little bit large. Let's shrink it down in the Y. No, not in the Y. It's in the Z in this orientation. Not in the Z. Control Z. I'm still doing the Y. That's why. Size in the Z. Let's shrink it down so that it's really on the ground. Let's move it up. It's still far too big. And shrink it down. We just need a small area that if the character could be able to jump over if they really wanted to. And I'll put this back down on the ground. All right. So maybe the character can jump over that. I don't know. But with just that in place, when I hit play, my character should fall in there and start taking damage immediately and die after a little while. Let's see. So a lot of damage. He takes a lot of damage. He takes a small amount of damage over a long period of time if I stand in there. That sounds a little bit loud. I'm going to turn the sound down. It's a fair amount of sound. All right, so that is exactly how I wanted it to work. That's great. Let's open up our audio source. Let's turn our volume down to half. There we go. Let's see how that sounds. Just die. That's better. I like that sound better. All right, there we go. So that works exactly as we want it to work. Great. I do want to add, and this is just for a visual. Oh, first of all, I'm going to change the name of this. Let's change the name to electrical puddle, even though there's no puddle there. I'm going to add, and this is just for aesthetic value. I'm going to add a new, I'm going to create a new particle system. And this is going to be my arcing. Ultimately, I'm going to put it underneath. So for now, I'm just going to call this electrical arcing. Electrical arcing. All right, and I'm going to leave it. I'm gonna put it at 0, 0, 0, exactly where the other one was. Oops. Come on, 0 and 0. All right, it's right back out at the origin, right on top of the other one. And ultimately, I'm going to drag it. I'm going to drop it underneath the electrical puddle, so they're all working together, and that's cool. What I want to do for this one here, once again, particle system. I want to go through. I'm going to make a lot of the similar changes. First of all, render. It is going to be not our default, but it is going to be our arcing. Is that what I called it? Arcing? Can't remember. Electrical arcing. It's going to be our electrical arcing, and basically, it's going to have a lot of the exact same things. We're going to have its own sound, so you could really pull this off if you wanted to. You can see there that it is also a texture sheet. We're going to be using our texture animation, and this time it is. Let me stop it and see. I think it's just the same thing, just sideways. Let me pause this. It is. It's the same one sideways. All right, so I guess I wasn't too fancy. I didn't remember that. All right, let's open up our texture sheet, and this time here we're going to turn it on, boop, and it's going to be a 9 by 1. And this time here, what we're looking for is we're looking for like these tendrils to shoot out every once in a while. So once again, we're going to have ourselves a looping. Let's go back up here. We're going to have a 5 durations fine looping system. No start delay again. Our lifetime. Let's make it relatively short. Let's make it a constant between 2 values again. Between 2 values, and let's make it 0.1 to 0.5. So we're just gonna see these short bursts of electricity that comes out. I'm gonna have the start speed obviously of 0 again because I want the arc itself to not to be moving up and down. I kind of want to stay in place. And I'm going to have the start size. Let's make our start size larger because what we're looking for, we're not looking for the same thing we had before. We're not looking for these little tiny electrical things along the ground. We're looking for large bubbling electricity like that. I think that should be fine. I think that should be fine. Maybe we'll make it even larger depending. That's not super tall. But let's check and see. All right, that'll be fine for now. We'll leave it like that for now. And basically what we want to do, once again, we want to set up our emissions. We're gonna change things around so we have a very low emission rate. In fact, what we're going to do, let's set up our emission rate to 0, actually. We're going to set it to 0. And what I want to do is have a particle burst. And I'm going to have a burst of 1. So every once in a while, we're only going to get 1 particle coming out at any given time at all. Every 5 seconds, only 1 particle coming out. And the shape itself, I think we can leave it. What we probably want to do though is it's currently a cone. If we really wanted to, we could set it up so it was either a box or a hemisphere. It doesn't really matter. We just want it going upright. Is basically how we want it to work. So it doesn't really matter how it's going. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to raise it up. And I'm going to use the hemisphere itself to raise the entire thing up. And I'm going to have it emit from the shell itself. All right. So now it's only going to be coming from the shell. And if I have it go in a random direction, we're not going to really sure which direction it's going to actually go. All right. So I'll use both of those for now. That's cool. Just to see how it looks. The radius, let's make our radius a little bigger. It's going to all depend on it's all going to depend on you guys. You guys can go through and change this. What happens if I play? Let's move our player out of the way first of all, so we're not being zapped constantly. Let's go up to our soldier. Just move him. Well, I'm not going to move. I'll move my puddle actually, so we can still see it off to the side. Electrical puddle. Let's move it over here. All right. And when I hit there, well, that's a nice big electrical charge. Let's see. Play. We should see one. There we go. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that arcing effect. And that's going to give a little bit better warning to our actual player that, whoa, something's there. And you can either move that up or move it down by increasing the size of your actual hemisphere. It might only be coming out of here. I'm not really sure. It might only be coming out around the perimeter of the base of the hemisphere, but you could use different things to make sure it moves up or down depending on what you want to do. All right, we want to add a couple of things here. I want to have an electrical charge that sounds every once in a while. Oh, I've got the wrong one selected. Electrical charge that sounds every once in a while. So I'm going to add a component. And once again, I'm going to add an audio component, and I'm going to add an audio source. And in this case here, for the audio source, I don't remember if I had. I think I did not. I think I used 5-second arc. I think that's what I used to make sure that we only heard the bzzz. Oh yeah, every 5 seconds we did, and I had the duration set to 5 seconds. That's right, I remember now. All right, so we're gonna have our 5-second arc, and once again, we want to make sure that it is a 3D sound. So we're gonna move our spatial blend all the way across. Let's turn our once again down to 20, and let's leave our sound that high. So let's see if we hear more arcing when it comes through. I think I like that. I'm gonna leave that sound a little higher. Oh, it didn't make a sound there. Because I do not have it set up to loop. Make sure if you add in a sound that is supposed to loop, you set up your sound to loop. Play. Perfect. All right, I like the way that looks, guys. That is basically all I wanted to create for this episode. A really simple environmental effect that you can use pretty much anywhere. And by thinking of what you're trying to accomplish, particle systems in Unity are so powerful. They're so powerful. They add so much to your game. I really, really recommend that you guys go through and build yourself some awesome particle systems, and they can very easily be set up to create environmental hazards or anything else as well. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let's move this electrical pulley out of the way for now because we don't really want to use it. Keep it here. If you want to, you could take the entire thing, go to your prefabs folder, drag and drop your electrical puddle into there, and you've got yourself a puddle that you can always use. I'm going to drag my electrical puddle over here for now. And what we're going to do, let's add it down here. So we'll add it. That's where it is in my game, right about there. We'll just add it for here for now. You won't be able to get across it, I guess. I'll add it here. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was fairly simplistic, and it was really just there for demonstration purposes. I really hope you guys are going to start moving ahead on your own environmental effects and that kind of thing now. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. If you have something you'd like to see personally, like I really like to see this, then let me know as well. I do have a Patreon site set up. I haven't really mentioned this before. I do have a Patreon site set up. There are a lot of people asking me to help me with their individual projects, create different things for them, or make a special episode for something that they're working on. I do have a Patreon set up, and like I said, I've never mentioned this before. One of the Patreon rewards is allowing you to do things like make suggestions for episodes. Depending on what level of Patreon you are, you might be able to decide what our next episode is going to be, or what a special episode that month is going to be. So if you had something special, like I'd really like to see bubbling lava or something like that, then if you are one of my patrons on Patreon, you might be able to decide what the episode is going to be. All right, guys. And like I said, I didn't mention it. I do not do this for profit at all. I do this to help my students in real life, my George Brown students in real life. So I'm not asking you to sign up for Patreon or anything like that. I just want to let everyone know that I really don't have time to help everybody with their individual projects and to help you guys more thoroughly than to make a few suggestions in the comments itself. I love to hear your comments, and I will try my best to help you given what limited information I can get over that. But if you're really looking for more help than that, you're looking for help with your individual projects, or you're looking for something very specific for me to help you with, I really recommend that you take a look at the Patreon page, and from there you'll be able to either make suggestions on episodes or get personal help. All right, guys. Not telling you have to sign up. I'm going to always release all of this stuff for free. I'm not in any way asking for money, okay? Just so there's no confusion. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, let me know with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Comments down below are always appreciated. I love to hear from you guys. I love to see what you've done and what you are doing. All right, guys? Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.